Welcome to the After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. I want to ask you, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show, but you didn't? Becky Gray, I'll start with you.
Okay, we were talking about the bonds, and one of the things that we didn't get to, but I feel like it's a really significant piece of that, is there is a grant and revolving loan program for water and sewer improvements that'll be available to local governments. Many of our water systems were put into place 50 years ago with materials that have a 50-year lifespan. So as we move forward with this, these water and sewer systems across the state are going to become more and more critical that we do the repairs and the renovations to those.
I understand we have more deficient water systems, public water systems in our state than any state in the country.
It wouldn't surprise me, and they've set aside $450 million for this, and I think it's an important movement. And it's not getting as much attention in the bond debate. Everybody's talking about the university projects and, community college and what's here and what's there, but the water and sewer stuff is statewide, and I think it's an important part of the bonds.
Chris, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
Well, it wasn't directly related to the topic, but we did talk about the fact that I was disappointed that the school construction money wasn't in the bond issue. Another big disappointment I had this session about education was we were promised that the Teaching Fellows program that I thought was doing a wonderful job in North Carolina, which was discontinued, we were promised that was going to be replaced with another scholarship program to attract bright kids to college and maybe improve on the Teaching Fellows program. The House had some funding in its budget to do that. That was not in the final budget. So now we have another year where we're going to go by. We have a teacher shortage. We were promised that we were going to have another creative way to try to get young kids through scholarships and incentives to become teachers, and that was left out of the final budget. So I think that was a big mistake.
That's one of those devils in the details thing that we didn't find out until much later after it was passed. John, tell us, what do you wish you'd have said last week that you didn't?
Well, Chris just mentioned something important about the budget, which is that it did a lot of things in a lot of different categories, but there was some unfinished business in education. I think you'll see a lot of that in 2016. When going into the session, and then the revenue numbers came in better than expected, we had really the budget surplus was well over $800 million, but the revenue surplus part of that was about $400 million. It's important for people to think very clearly about what happened to that money. It was not given back to taxpayers as tax cuts. It was not spent. That entire revenue surplus was saved, and then some. So much of it might have been one-time money. Much of that might have been poorly spent on things that had long-term fiscal consequences, whether tax cuts or programs. Neither happened. They wisely saved the surplus.
We're going to have about $1 billion in reserves after this is over.
$1 billion just in the rainy day fund. Actually, if you add additional reserves, it's between $1.3 and $1.5 billion in reserves. That is a good place to be right now.
All right. Dan Blue, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show, but you didn't?
We talked a little bit about the effects of moving the primary from May to March. I took a look at my calendar and circled the date, and what I realized is that filing, of course, starts at the beginning of December. But the actual primary will come right in the middle of a couple of spring breaks for the universities and right in the middle of the ACC basketball tournament. Which means
you don't mean that.
Which means that weekend of the tournament is going to have the most interesting set of commercials that you've ever seen in between the breaks, and I don't know that we're going to like it very much.
It's right in the middle of the ACC basketball tournament.
Right at the end of it. If I'm right, it's in between the ACC and the NCAAs.
Wow. Well, thanks for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.